All right, welcome back to another episode of The Lethal Library. I am your host, Stephanie.
And I'm Dani.
And if you're new here, we cover death row cases in the Pacific Northwest. And so we're glad you're here to listen along. Dani's going to tell me a story about another one of our death row inmates.
This one, I'm going to say, have you ever blamed your sibling for something that you did?
Yep.
Maybe it was for a mess or a missing snack.
Yeah, I was usually the one that got blamed because I was the younger one. So it was, of course, Steph did it.
Easy.
Shout out, Sam.
This case will have you baffled. I mean, when do you grow up and take responsibility for your own actions?
Guess we're going to find out.
Let's get into it. This is the case of Mark and Brian Lankford. 27-year-old U.S. Marine Captain Robert Bravence and his 25-year-old wife, Cheryl, disappeared from a campsite on June 21st, 1983. The Nez Perce National Forest campsite where the couple was staying was about 45 miles southeast of Grangeville, Idaho.
Okay.
They were from Scottsdale, Arizona, but Robert was currently stationed at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. They were vacationing in Idaho on an extended camping trip with their dog. The couple was last heard from on June 21st when they called Robert's mother, Gilda. I love that name.
That's so cute.
They told her of their 2.5-week vacation plans. The phone call was traced back to Grangeville, Idaho. Gilda reported the couple missing when they failed to arrive in Scottsdale for a promised visit on June 29th. Gilda said that they were such a wholesome couple. Robert was an experienced outdoor enthusiast who had been camping in Idaho since he was 11. And that, because I was like, what are they doing clear up here? Like, that's a drive.
Especially back then, most people didn't even know Idaho was a state.
Truly. So I thought that, I'm like, what are they doing clear up here in Idaho from El Paso, Texas? But then once I heard Gilda's story, like, he's been coming and camping in Idaho.
He enjoyed Idaho before.
Since he was 11. So he'd been up here. He knew the area. She also stated that the couple didn't smoke, drink, or use drugs. They were very, very wholesome. Robert Bob Bravence, says he was known to friends and family as Bob, was a member of the Corps Administrative Detachment at Fort Bliss in Texas. He graduated the University of Arizona with a degree in nuclear engineering. And Cheryl was a graduate of Northern Arizona University and was employed as a teacher. Like, this just sounds like the all-American couple.
And very smarty pants.
Very
educated couple.
Yeah.
Power couple.
Their bodies were found by hunters on September 24th, approximately 26 miles from their campsite.
And what year is this?
This is 1983. They went missing in June, the end of June, and they were found in September. Which is hunting season here. Makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, they were out
People
hunting.
Are out there.
But they just literally disappeared. That poor family wondering
what happened.
Yeah, it can't. Like, these were responsible people.
That would have been in contact.
Yes.
They weren't living a life of
crime. And so I can't. I mean, I feel like I know people that if they took off, they'd be like, well, it's par for the course. They're just kind of...
We'll hear from them in 2 weeks. They're on a spiritual journey in Costa Rica, probably.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Doing drugs.
Maybe both.
But to have a couple who, I mean, a captain in the Marine Corps and a teacher, she was on her big summer break. Let's go have a fun holiday. And for them just to disappear without a word, it was a gut bomb. Their family was like, this is not right. Hell. Yeah, this is not right. 5 days later, on September 29th, warrants charging 2 counts of first-degree murder were issued for 2 brothers out of Texas, Mark Lankford, 27, and Brian Lankford, 23. Registration papers and other evidence was found in an abandoned 1982 Chevy Camaro. The Camaro was covered with brush only 0.3 of a mile from Bravence's bodies. So where they located the couple.
So they tried to hide the Camaro. They're like, get a couple sagebrush.
I wonder if it was red. I don't know the color, but what are you
To
doing?
hide a car with brush takes a lot of brush. So I'm in my mind, I'm certain that the job wasn't done extremely well.
The brothers had been seen at an Oregon gas station using the Bravences' credit card for gas. And the Bravences' Volkswagen van was found abandoned on July 5th in Los Angeles. That's a trip.
Yeah.
The stolen credit cards were charged up to $3,000. They maxed those bitches out
Oh, they were going for gold, baby.
in 83.
And I know that, again, the technology wasn't what it is today. But to use a credit card, that's a digital signature.
There was no digital. It was the paper slidey. You know.
We had to use those when our systems went down when I worked at a freaking pizza place. Okay.
You remember?
So it would still take a while to catch up
Yeah.
because it's almost like a check.
Right. They're just, you put the thing in you put the card down, the like triple, quadruple.
Yes, the paper that
Yeah.
makes 4 or 5 copies.
Right.
Yeah.
What is that called?
Carbon paper. It's something special.
I want to say you're right, but Anyways,
To be continued.
you put it in this machine, this literally, it's like there was no, if there was enough on it, like you're just like, thank you for your credit card.
It's essentially like those, I've seen kids with these old school toys. Like there was like a fashion set where there was stencils and you took a crayon and you took
I had that.
Yeah, you took the label off the crayon and it was a raised image of a dress and a shirt and a face, and you take the label off the crayon and you hold it horizontally and you rub the crayon all the way up and down and it only picks up on the imprints, kind of like a reverse stamp. It was essentially that for credit cards. I can't believe that that's the same technology.
Like, oh, have credit card, it must be good. Like, really, there was no way to check. I mean, I guess you could call, but
Let me
nobody
get out
did
my
that.
fashion tracer and I'll just take your credit card right now.
Yeah. So they were doing it up to get that $3,000. And
Spending it up.
the Lankford brothers were arrested on October 2nd in Texas. So they went back home, kind of a roundabout a ways. They were in northern Idaho, hit LA, back to Texas.
A little road trip.
They were arrested after I read two different
accounts.
accounts. They were arrested either after a hunter reported the two were living in a tar paper shack and poaching game.
Ooh.
And I also read that authorities had been aware of the two men camping and they were being watched because of a small amount of marijuana spotted nearby.
That devil's lettuce is going to get you every time in this era.
And it could have been both. It could have been that the authorities were watching them, but then the hunter also saw them. And I have to tell you, I did have to look up I know what tar paper is, but I thought maybe a tar paper
I thought it was
shack-
for roofing.
It is.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So basically it's a shack and then they just wrap it in tar paper to protect the wood. But I was like, ooh, what is that tar paper? And it's a shack wrapped in roofing material.
The more you know.
The brothers were extradited back to Idaho on October 19th. So it took a few weeks, but they got him back here.
That's very quick.
Trigger warning, there is going to be lots of unaliving attempts
right.
coming up. So while in jail, the younger brother, Brian Lankford, attempted to hang himself shortly after arriving. He had used torn strips from his maximum security cell, but was saved by jailers because they were watching them. They were like on.
The
Unlike-
maximum security is actually maximum security-ing.
Not like Creech, no. So he was getting checked on all the time and being watched. So he was saved by the jailers. His older brother, Mark Lankford, did not eat for almost 4 days after arriving in the jail.
Hunger strike.
Deputy Murray stated that he wasn't sure if it was a hunger strike because Mark suffered from an ulcer and was unable to keep any food down, but he refused medicine. So it could have either or. I mean, it could have been he was sick from his ulcer. It could have been a hunger strike. A few months later in December, both brothers pled not guilty, and the judge said they will have separate trials, which yay for that, because I just saw appeals coming. In March 1984, Brian Lankford's trial started. So this is the younger brother. The prosecutor, Albers, claimed Brian held the shotgun on the couple as his brother Mark bludgeoned the Bravences to death, and the motive was to steal their van. That's such a lame.
That's an overreaction. Most people are going to give you their van if they're under threat of death. You're doing way too much.
The attorney also stated that Mark Lankford drove his Camaro to Idaho, but decided to abandon it because he was behind on the payments. Nice cover-up job you did there.
They're never going to repo it here. I've got 3 sagebrushes on it. You can't see it. Try me, repo man.
An FBI agent testified Brian Lankford signed a statement saying that his brother Mark struck Robert with an 18-inch nightstick. And then he did the same to Cheryl. It's brutal. Brian was holding a shotgun on the couple while Mark beat them. That is just such a
Overkill.
and it's brutal.
What's stopping you from just taking the vehicle if they are not armed? You could just take it. No need for all this.
None. Absolutely none. The 2 brothers loaded up the couple in their van and dumped the Bravences' bodies. The agent also testified the statement from Brian claimed Mark told Brian there are better ways to travel than walking. The brothers hitchhiked to an area near the campsite. Robert had told the brothers to take the van. So Robert Bravence, the victim, told the brothers to take the van and their money. Just don't harm us.
Yeah, exactly.
We go by, have it. You can have it all. Brian Lankford did testify at his own trial. And I'm just feeling like it's not rare, but a rare Saturday in court.
They were down to have you in a court on a Saturday in this time. They're like, what are you guys really doing? Which, honestly, if I'm in a sequestered jury and getting paid next to nothing, I would be down for it. Because it's like, let's get the show on the road. We can all chat. The only thing we can do is watch a VHS in a room with everyone else. Like, we have no social media, no nothing. Let's get to work. Let's go.
So the Saturday court was held because the jury was sequestered. Brian stated he was compelled to stand by and watch his brother brutally beat the couple because his brother's dominant personality. He also stated that they had come to Idaho to live off the land after Brian had violated his probation in Texas. He was on probation for a robbery that Mark had forced him to do. This is where you're going to start to see...
Is there a pattern here?
Yeah, there's definitely a pattern.
But is it a literal pattern? Like,
Um,
in your opinion?
yeah, there's a lot of blaming that's going to be going on.
Do you think it's legitimate?
I don't know.
Well, I
I'll be very interested for your thoughts after you hear the story, because as my research went on, I was for sure thought, oh my gosh. So at this point in the story, I'm thinking, oh, Big Brother is a big, giant dick.
Or a bully or...
Right. And we've all seen with a group of siblings, there's like that overbearing brother or high maintenance sister, whatever, overbearing sister, high maintenance brother, however you want to do it. That you're like, oh, how did you have a group of siblings and you have this one? Right. So, but at this point in my research, I was feeling and for a continued amount of time, actually, I thought Brian was just, yeah. So I'll be interested for your conclusion at the end. He was on probation for a robbery that Mark had forced him to do. While committing the robbery at a store, Mark drove off and left Brian at the scene.
You got to ride for your criminal partners, just for your siblings in general. Like, what is this? If you've got the getaway car, the people have to get in so you can get away. That's the point.
Brian also testified he wanted to return to Texas, but that Mark had threatened to kill him if he didn't follow his orders. By Saturday night, Brian was found guilty of first-degree murder after just 4 hours of deliberation.
Very quick.
One and done. I thought, damn, your own brother said, go do this robbery. I got you, bro. But I really don't got you, bro.
Yeah. Fuck off. YOLO. Should have gotten the car faster. Oh, the door was locked. They don't have the automatic locks. They're like, that's on you, bud. Gotta go.
I don't know. Do you think a 1982 Camaro had locks? Automatic locks?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think you were rolling up the window like this. So in April, Idaho court history is made when the selection for Mark's jury was made in Ada County, but they were bussed up to Grangeville. So they selected a jury from Boise because we do not want to be having the whole I couldn't get a fair trial.
Okay.
Because of all the publicity, they couldn't get a fair trial. So let's just nix that. So kudos for them because that's not a reason to have another trial.
Yeah, and they have to be tried somewhere. And even back then when there wasn't as much information available, things made headlines in many other states across the country regardless. So you're never going to get someone or an entire jury pool that has no idea about the people or the murder or the victim. Things were still circulating. So they're doing their best to be like, we're trying.
Well, in Grangeville, up in Idaho County, it was probably in the paper. It was because I researched it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, so everybody, and it's that is a small county, and everybody knew about it. Mm-hmm. And there's people that have definite opinions in those small counties.
So they said, we'll go to Ada County.
Let's go to Ada County, which I think is actually an excellent idea. If you don't think you can get a fair trial here, let's just go 3 hours away, 3.5 hours away, pick us up a jury where it's not talked about at every small bar, every restaurant, because it was the talk of the town. So let's go somewhere where it's not the talk of the town, bigger population.
Yeah.
Just to avoid all of these
retrial
appeals.
And that's the motivation for so many actions that seem arbitrary or too much that's what they're trying to avoid. So props, you got to do what you got to do.
I liked it. I really did. I was like,
CYA.
wow, that's badass. Mark Lankford's trial begins on May 2nd.
What year?
We are still in 84.
84.
The first witness to testify is his brother Brian.
Ooh.
Mark was escorted into the court by 5 deputies. As he looked at his brother, he said, "I want that fellow right there. And he better keep his eyes on me." He then threw his suit coat across the defense table. Mark would occasionally turn and glare at Brian. Brian took the stand and testified about the trip from Texas to Idaho and why they decided to steal the Bravences' van. It was because it had Texas plates.
I can understand why they were a target. I still don't understand why you couldn't just steal the car. Steal the van. They wanted you to have the van, bro.
They really did. They did. Brian stated that he had distracted the couple with conversation, and then Mark came out of the woods with a gun. He also testified how Mark ordered the couple to lie down just before beating them to death. It's so sad. It just pointless. At that point, Mark stood and pointed at his brother and shouted, "That's a lie. You're a damned liar." Brian continued to testify, stating that Robert had said, this is Robert Bravence, the victim, "Take the money. Don't hurt us." At that point, Mark stood up and asked for his suit coat and said, "I am not listening to this. You can listen to it if you want to." In his own, he's like, "I'm out."
You're an inmate, bro. I don't think you have a choice.
At his
in
own
this.
trial, he's like, "You can listen to this shit. I'm not listening to it." Which, so,
Next.
I just want you to think about, though, the point that Brian says, like, my brother's controlling, my brother, blah, blah, blah. But also, is he really telling the truth? And is Brian, like, just fed up, like, "Oh my God, you're a liar."
You've been thinking about this and trying to weave together this lie. Both are possible.
Because
at
Brian's
this
already
point.
convicted. It's done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to go in there and testify against his brother.
Why did they try Brian first?
I couldn't find a reason why. Maybe because he agreed to testify against his brother.
I would think they would want to do Mark first then to get all this testimony. I don't know. I don't know how I would feel in this situation. This is very complex.
That's why I'm like, just think about, I want you to just kind of think about what's going on here, and I want your opinion.
Facets.
So after that outburst, Judge Reinhardt then ordered a recess, and Mark was taken back to jail. When court resumed, Mark Lankford demanded to act as his own attorney.
Oh my gosh.
He was allowed to ask his brother several questions. Mark asked his brother about the different versions of the stories that Brian has told. Brian stated, "You told me not to give any statements, which is what I did until I broke down and told the truth." That's when Mark's attorney, Fitzmaurice, interrupted and told the judge that the episode was a farce and his client's questioning was a bumbling effect, being like, "Judge, sorry, wait, we should not be doing this." Mark, sit the fuck down. Shut the fuck up. Right?
Like we're not here to see your soap opera family drama. We don't want to feel like we're at Thanksgiving dinner with two feuding brothers right
Which
now.
is what the point it was.
Yeah.
Right. Like he's just like angry and yelling.
And trying to like degrade or sure.
Brian then refused to answer any questions from Attorney Fitzmaurice during the cross-examination, and another recess was ordered. After the recess, Mark refused to leave his cell and returned to court. It's like, I'm not.
This is dramatic. These men are very emotional right now.
And he's just, I don't know, though. If I was in court with my sister and I knew that she was lying, it's not like an eyewitness saw you pull up or something. It's like your sibling. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it take you to another level?
It would. But I'd want her to have to look me in the face. I'd want her to have to say it in front of me.
But Brian was. But if your sister was lying to you, or lying in front of everybody, So this is the part where I'm really struggling because I'm putting myself, like, if for some reason me and my sister were in court blaming each other for something or whatever, and she was just bold-faced lying, my emotions would be at a gazillion.
So you'd be asking to be your own lawyer just for that. Because I can understand that. I'd be like, no, let me
talk to my sister because I have some fucking questions to ask her. I don't know.
Say it to me. No, I can understand the pettiness in the decisions for sure. Because truly, I can't put it past myself to do it either. So you're right.
The emotional level of that would be like just so high. After the recess, Mark refused to leave his cell and return to court. He screamed profanities at the deputies, but they ended up finally getting him back to court. So kudos to those deputies. I don't know what they told him.
Yeah.
I don't know if they threatened him or encouraged him or what, but they got him back in court.
He had a little meltdown. He needed a little time.
On May 4th, Mark Lankford was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder. The jury deliberated for about 5.5 hours. So they had separate court cases, but they sentenced them on the same day. A few days before the brothers' sentencing, Brian Lankford told a newspaper that he was directly responsible for the killing.
Okay. What was all this trial for?
Brian's attorney said he doesn't know the motive for the statement, but he said his client told him 100% the truth about the murder. Sentencing for both brothers is set for June 28th, but there is a delay waiting for psychiatric evaluations. In late July, Brian Lankford is admitted to the state hospital after 3 suicide attempts.
Oof.
Our favorite warden's back. Warden Arvon Arape.
He was big in the game with these people we're talking about.
With Creech. I have just such a difficult time. Oh, here we go. Saying that. Warden Arvon Arape said he was forced to do the transfer after the suicide attempts. He explained Brian tried to hang himself with a blanket on Tuesday night in the Idaho County Jail. He was then transferred to the Lewis County Jail. The very next day, he tried to hang himself again and then later slash his wrists.
How did he slash his wrist? Was it a razor? Do they have razors around? Just willy-nilly?
Especially after somebody has attempted to harm themselves, but he needed a shave.
This is wild to me because in most mental hospitals, you cannot have shoelaces. You can't have a shirt or a hoodie with a string in it. You can't have a belt. You can't have certain types of clothing that are easily like shredded by hand to make a long piece of. It's so strict.
So on the same day, he tried to harm himself by trying to hang himself, but then he also on the same day managed to get a hold of a razor blade. Somebody's not
Something
thinking.
to do a slicey dicey.
Somebody's not thinking there. But they were watching.
They were trying to mitigate, sure. I just can't believe that someone who had done a self-harm was given any access to anything that would allow you to continue or use other methods.
So they sedated Brian.
Good job. Y'all clearly need to get your ducks in a row. Sure. Yes. Sedate, plan. Let's try again. Let's do it.
So Brian was sedated. I'm sorry, I wasn't laughing at that part, but I was laughing that we said it at the same time. Brian was sedated and flown down to the state corrections hospital. Good choice. Don't send him to another prison. another jail, send him to somebody who can, a hospital at this point.
That hopefully doesn't allow weekend excursions. I didn't know what to call it. A weekend pass. No weekend passes at this hospital, Dani?
Yeah, no weekend passes.
Okay, thank God. Because I was expecting you to be like, actually, Steph. In this time, it was a different time, Steph.
It was a different time. In early August, Brian Lankford asked for the dismissal of his court-appointed attorney and to be released from jail in a letter written to the 2nd District Court. He wrote he was a lamb being led to slaughter.
Mm.
He said his attorney withheld evidence and facts about his mental illness. Maybe fair. Okay, so this is very important.
Okay.
Prosecutor Dennis Albers asked for a sentence of indeterminate life sentences for both of the brothers, which indeterminate means at least 10 years in prison before the possibility of parole. So there is a possibility of parole.
And that's not that long for a possibility for murder.
Right. The Idaho 2nd District judge said such a punishment would seriously undermine the public's faith in the justice system. The Lankford brothers were ordered to die by Judge Reinhardt on October 15th. He said that the beatings were accomplished in such a way to be wicked and shockingly vile. We are in 1985.
85.
Appeals, appeals, appeals. Brian wrote a letter to his attorney, Fitzmaurice, stating, I am very sorry for all the heartache I have caused everyone. I did not mean to kill Mr. and Miss Bravence. However, I had been on drugs and just lost control. For when I killed Mr. and Mrs. Bravence with that rock, Mark was down the road and did not even know what I was doing. I went and got him and told him what I had done and asked him to help me hide them. And that's all he did. Mark Lankford is asking for a new trial based off of this new evidence.
Okay. I can kind of see where this is going to go.
I would. Do you not see what my brother just wrote?
And then the other can do the same.
In 1986, during a hearing for Mark's new trial, Brian was held in contempt of court for refusing to answer questions. Brian claimed any response would violate his constitutional rights. Also can see that. You want me to testify against my brother, but also
incriminate myself.
Exactly. Fair.
Sure.
That's illogical. Out of all of the
good lawyer advice, I'm assuming.
Maybe. In 87, Brian's attorney, Joan Fisher, said the immunity granted to Brian in return for his testimony against his brother barred any further action against him. She is asking for Brian not only to be liberated from his death row sentence, but she wants him freed. Can I just say, I love how these attorneys dig. Like, well, you know, he should just be freed. When, no, they should
That wasn't the original deal regardless, so you're not going to be freed.
His attorney said that Brian's testimony is the only testimony that secured Mark's death penalty.
Okay.
Right? Like, there was only one person. It's like, he said, she said. The Idaho solicitor, Thomas, said the immunity claim was absurd because Brian had already been convicted when testified. And this is important.
The order.
This is important. Mark's attorney's like, yeah, Brian had nothing to lose. He was already convicted, was not sentenced, but already convicted. They're like, that's the only testimony that said Mark was the killer.
All right.
But at the same time, we all know the rule. if a death is committed during a crime, it doesn't matter. Everybody's the murderer, right?
Culpability.
Yeah. Everybody's the murderer. In 1990, Mark comes within 33 hours of execution before another stay is issued.
Oh, gosh.
And there's a lot of these going on in these death row cases, but I just like to state that because it is so close.
Coming down to the wire.
Yeah, it's down to the wire. In 1991, the Supreme Court struck down the death sentence for Brian Lankford. They stated his sentencing violated his due rights process, and he is entitled to a new sentencing hearing. Brian and his attorneys were not aware the judge was considering the death penalty. Do you remember earlier when I was saying that the prosecution team was recommending indeterminate life sentences?
Yes, I do remember.
So, they're like, wait.
We didn't know it was on the table.
We didn't know we were defending a death penalty case.
Fair.
Later in the year, he was requested to be removed from the state prison to the Idaho County Jail in Grangeville, which was denied. Asinine. Like, I don't know why. Why are you even asking that?
Yeah.
In 1993, there's a resentencing hearing for Brian. His attorney, Fisher, stated that Mark Lankford dominated his little brother physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially. Brian was resentenced to 2 consecutive life terms. Lankford laughed when the judge announced the second life term would follow the first. He told the judge, "I love you in spite of your evilness."
Oh, okay. Bold.
Some of the mitigating factors in the resentencing was that Brian was young and was terrified of his brother. I still don't know
what really happened. I mean, no one will ever know except those two.
In 1995, the Supreme Court ruled to vacate Brian's sentence again. The prosecution is bound by the earlier agreement of indeterminate life. Remember when I said that was important?
Mm-hmm.
They cannot bring up any aggravating factors as well. Brian thought the worst sentence he could receive was a life sentence because he agreed to testify against his brother. And I just have to say, I was researching this in kind of a tight timeline, and I really thought that this would be settled soon.
Mm-hmm.
I literally was pulling my hair. At one point, I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
How does it keep going?
It keeps going. So we're going to hear a lot of appeal stuff. So, yeah, I was pulling my hair out at this point. Not that it's not an interesting case, but I was like, these appeals are going on forever. And they do.
And they're for a lot of different reasons. So
And
it's a very contemptuous.
And I feel some of them are valid.
Sure, I do too.
Yeah. The prosecution's like, we're just going to recommend indeterminate life sentences. So I know. And Brian was convicted, but not sentenced before and then he testified against his brother without even being sentenced.
It doesn't seem right.
I'd be like, no, hand it down, and then you want me to go talk?
So I think we can agree they're awful, and some terrible shit happened out there that there was no need for, especially if someone's willing to give you their money, their cars, whatever you needed. Doesn't excuse any of that, but this is why cases get retried, whether they're death penalty or not, when due process isn't filed to the T and people don't think ahead of what could cause this case to come back. This is what happens. And in a death penalty case, it's going to be that times 10.
Times 10, for sure.
100%.
We've seen it time and time again.
Appeals.
In 1999, Mark says he will give up on his appeals if a judge doesn't reconsider his latest appeal. He wrote to the governor in early January 1999, quote, "I'm finally going to allow you to murder me. It does not matter to you or to the people of your less than great state that I am innocent, for the bloodlusts blind you all to the truth."
Why did the entire state of Idaho catch a stray just now? Sir? I've never heard of you until today. I'm so sorry. Like, I had no skin in the game, regardless, bro. But, okay, less than great state of Idaho? Oof. Way to punch us in the gut. We caught
That was a quote.
I guess he's probably like, if he would listen to this, he's like, why am I catching a stray from these girls in their fucking podcast? Who are these girls? They don't know me. So, okay. Touche, sir. Touche. The so-called great state. Okay, touche. Fine.
Isn't that our saying, though? The great state of Idaho?
I think a lot of states say it, but I mean, it's a common saying around here.
Well, I feel it.
I do feel it too.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that Idaho sucks in a lot of different ways, but it's amazing in a ton of ways. So anyway, thanks for totally calling each and every one of us out, bro. Noted.
But encouraged by his attorneys and friends, 3.5 months later, he decides to continue the fight.
After he said, I would no longer like to continue the fight.
Well, he said, look, if you don't look at my shit, I'm done. That is no way persuading any judge to do shit.
They have all the time in the world, as you know.
All right. Well, that's your call.
So his friends are like, don't say that. Let's have some strategery.
Bloodlust was a big word.
I had no bloodlust to you, sir. Not for a minute.
In 2000, the Idaho Commission of Pardons and Paroles ordered Brian to serve at least 15 more years before being considered for parole.
Okay.
They declined to Brian a near-term release date as he requested. They have continued concerns about his fitness for parole. A commission official cited a previous robbery conviction in Texas, which is one of the reasons they ran, and reported threats made to other inmates and prison staff.
Again, stop with the threats. Stop with the bad behavior.
I wanted details. I could not find them. I wanted the details.
Yeah.
What did he say?
What threats?
In 2003, Mark Lankford loses another appeal. Appeal. In 2004,
it just keeps going.
This is IDOC for you. Prison officials are forced to remove all but one death row inmate from maximum security general population.
For what?
Well, they let them, they were just, all of them were in general pop.
Oh. In 2004?
Yeah. They're like, we'll just let you.
I wonder, what was Creech doing in 04? Because I'm like, he has access to slice, he dies so many people. Like, we need a different facility.
I'm not sure, but I was
Creech or spurred this, like.
I'm like, why are the death row inmates?
They're just chilling.
I mean, they're in maximum security, but the general pop. But the prison officials were like, oh, we've got to remove everybody but one. Warren Greg Fisher downplayed the claims made by Mark Lankford that he was a victim of white supremacist inmates. You knew this was coming.
Is there a satanic cult in here somewhere? Please.
Possibly.
Oh my God.
No, I'm just kidding. But
that's where I feel like the road we're going down.
He was placed. So Mark Lankford was placed in administrative segregation after being beaten in a cell by two members of an Aryan gang.
Okay.
believe that.
Sure.
This is I shouldn't say he was involved in these murders, but it's bullshit. Because of the administrative segregation, he can no longer have personal property, privileges, or a job. He's sitting in a fucking cell with nothing. Lankford's attorney stated that is exactly what the Aryans wanted.
I can see a point there. And again, not excusing anything.
Kind of feel bad for the fucker.
If all the other death row inmates, if all it takes is to get your ass beat
in your own cell,
a gang, and then you lose, a job in prison is huge, and you get paid like cents, pennies on the hour.
But at least you're not sitting rotting in a fucking cell all day.
And you have some money you can make on your own to get
some ramen,
the most basic of needs. And again,
maybe some hot sauce, some sauce.
If we're in it for fairness and treating people equally so that things like this and appeals and lawsuits don't happen, you have to do things the same for people. So I can understand why they brought this up.
And let's take out any race. Let's take out any religion.
Any other factors.
To get your ass beat in jail and then you're put in segregation without any of your personal property
that you didn't do anything for just because you got jumped. No, I'd be pissed.
He's still a murderer
and a loser.
But still, bullshit.
This is what opens things up for legislation, which is like you're just making it worse on yourself in the long run as the state or whoever's prosecuting.
So we are in 2006. Mark gets a new trial after an appeal to release him due to ineffective counsel and jury instruction error. The attorney, Fitzmaurice, was only a part-time public defender, and the only felony case experience he had was a cattle rustling trial.
You cannot be rustling cattle in Idaho. It's a very serious offense. Do not rustle. I don't know what that is, by the way, but it sounds serious. It's a felony. Is it cow tipping?
No.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
Okay.
Felony.
Ladies and gents, I could be wrong, but I believe cattle rustling, I want to Google it, but I'm not. I'm just going to go off the cuff. It's when people go steal cattle. Cattle are worth, now, you see a cow in a
Have
field.
y'all seen the price of beef?
Right. It's worth like $3,000.
If
just
you know
a cow.
Someone who has a KitchenAid grinder, you could have hundreds of pounds of beef.
And here in the state of Idaho, there's free range.
Yeah.
You hit a cow out in the middle of nowhere. Sorry about your luck, bro. It's not the cow's fault. It's not the rancher's fault. It's your fault because that is
should
the
have
law.
been looking for a cow because it is free range.
Yeah.
Cows are allowed to walk the road. It's as much their road as it is yours.
Sorry about your luck. Oh,
And then
going 65 and there's a cow on the road and you hit it? There was
Then they give us 80-mile-an-hour speed limits. What are we doing here? That's not in cattle areas, but
Brian had every incentive to lie, the court said. Evidence presented in his testimony did not match the forensic evidence. And that is the truth because he was already convicted.
Mm-hmm.
He was convicted. Before he was sentenced, he had every reason to lie. Makes sense. In 2007, after a hearing for Mark's new trial, Robert Lankford testified in an affidavit that his brother Mark may have killed at least 6 people in Texas.
What?
So Robert is another brother. Not Mark, not Brian. Robert is another brother.
What is going on with y'all? What is your family reunions like?
Awkward.
Yeah.
So his brother Robert said that his brother may have killed at least 6 people in Texas. He also stated that he is, quote, a sociopath of the first order.
Oh, all right then. Thank you for that information.
Robert said that he and his family are afraid of Mark. So here's the murders that his brother Robert said Mark may have committed. 2 girls were murdered in the Houston area close to where Mark lived with his grandmother at the time. His grandmother feared for her life as his mysterious behavior was leading her to suspect he had something to do with the disappearance of these young ladies.
Intuition.
We got it. You know we do.
Mm-hmm.
He also recounted a Christmas gathering in 1980 when their father said he had found a body near a spot where he took his sons fishing as children.
Oh, don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Mark made a comment about the body being dismembered. Robert said, "My father turned white as a bedsheet and then asked Mark how he knew that was that detail, as it was never made public."
So props to the father who is picking up on this of like, they never said that in the papers. I never said that. Props to the dad.
Props to the bro for like being like, no, he's a bad dude. Robert also said he thought Mark to be involved in the disappearance of 2 women from a strip club in Texas.
This is not looking good.
Sorry for giggling. Mark applied for a job as a stripper under the name Little Conan, but was laughed off stage.
Little who?
Conan. Remember Conan the Barbarian?
I was thinking Conan O'Brien. I'm like, this is the who wants to...
I don't know. Mark might have been a gender. I don't know. I'm assuming that it was Conan the Barbarian.
I think you're right, because Conan O'Brien probably wasn't out, but the image that came to my mind was a very tiny red-headed man. I'm not trying to be rude to any cultures, but a leprechaun. Little Conan. Little Conan, little C-man, start a rap career.
I just would like you to know it took everything I had to say that sentence without plastic.
You did a beautiful job, because my eyes were just widening at that. He tried to be a stripper? Wow. So the confidence is there. The confidence is there.
Robert stated, "I believe he picked out those that humiliated his ego and waited for them in the parking lot where he abducted and murdered them later."
That's
legit.
Happened a million times to women before.
The 6th death was an elderly man that Mark talked about putting a hammer off into his head.
Okay. This is what's being talked about at Thanksgiving and birthdays, and y'all are just like, Mark's talking about his latest murder.
But have you seen his Camaro?
It's a nice rig. Really nice rig.
That he couldn't pay for. Because the strip club job did not work out.
He was really counting on that.
He was banking. It's like he went down to the bank. It's like, I'm going to be a stripper. And
here's my name. Wait for it. Little Conan.
Pretty fucking catchy.
Going back.
In 2008, trials moved to Shoshone County from Idaho County. So this is the retrial for Mark. And Mark gets a new trial in 2008. It is moved to Shoshone County from Idaho County. Again, right?
To avoid an appeal.
A family of picnickers. I love that word.
Picnickers?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that almost sounded bad.
A family... Picnickers. They were picnicking. A family that was picnicking.
Yeah. Thank you.
A family was having a picnic at a northern Idaho campground. They testified that they were so disturbed by a conversation with the 2 men that they packed up and left.
Well,
So
clearly.
this is many, 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 many years later. Let's see. Many, 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 many years later. Let's see. Happened in 83.
But they remembered after all these years. The vibes were terribly off.
Daryl Cox, a logger from Grangeville, testified he gave the men, one with a shotgun, a ride and dropped them off at the McAllister picnic area.
Because who do you want to pick up when they're hitchhiking? Someone with a shotgun? Sure, certainly.
I remember the day when my dad had the shotgun racks in the back of his truck and had shotguns. Do you?
A gun rack?
Do you remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My dad had a gun rack in the back.
And with guns? Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even own a gun.
Little multiple that I can drape my vehicle with. And we are an open carry state here, so just
Guns are everywhere.
they're everywhere. This gentleman that gave them the ride was unable to identify Mark in the courtroom because it's a gazillion years later, but didn't identify Mark in the original 1984 trial. A former tree planter testified. Can I just tell you, I'm very disappointed. You never asked me about the fucking dog.
What happened to the family dog?
You never asked me about the fucking
I thought
dog,
about it.
Steph.
I honestly was like, if they beat the shit out of these people, what did they do to
You
the dog?
never asked me-
I do want to know, but I was really scared because people, yes, it is very bad. But I was
Taking
like,
the damn dog.
and I'm taking the dog.
Yeah.
What happened to the dog?
Okay. A former, sorry, I went on a tangent. A former tree planter testified the Bravence's dog, Phantom, was left and tied in the bushes.
So they left the dog alive.
Phantom was a registered Siberian husky and was considered a member of the family.
But they left the dog alive. And huskies are very vocal. So that just, it just makes me, again, question the severity of this crime. Of you didn't even have to kill them in the first place. And I'm glad that the dog was left. But
Me
I'm
too.
sure that dog, I've never met a quiet husky.
Like a registered, like
Yeah.
the real deal.
So it's just surprising to me. I mean, I'm glad the dog survived at least. I wish that they just didn't kill anyone, but hey, here we are.
Andrew Dale testified he rented a room to two men in a green Volkswagen at the Ranch Motel in Pendleton, Oregon. Can I just tell you, this is what I picture the Ranch Motel. It was on the first exit.
Yeah,
It's not down.
it's right there. Truckers,
Yeah.
travelers
Yeah.
through, yeah. Hitchhikers.
The men used a credit card under the name of Robert Bravence. Brian testified.
Again.
He said the stories told previously were only told to protect themselves from prison gangs and friends of his older brother. God, this feels a la Creech.
They're grasping.
Brian said Mark had hatched the plan to rob the Bravences of their van and that it was Mark that made the couple lie down, and he was the one that struck him in the back of the head with a club. The bodies were driven to another campsite where Mark dragged them into the forest. So, and I don't have this written down, but he was like, I just sat in the car and cried. That's what Brian said. I didn't get out there. I didn't do it. I never dragged a dead body. It's not a one. It's, they're heavy. Dead weight, literally dead weight is heavy. I just sat in the van and cried about it.
That the story has changed so many times. Each time it changes, it makes it less credible. Even if this was to be the real story, it's like, well, why have we heard 17 before this? You had trial. You had the ability to testify against. You had your chance. So whatever you think of in the next 10 years, because like we said, give me 10 years to think about it. I can figure out a perfect explanation in 10 years that could explain away many pieces of damning evidence or even others' testimony. So it's just,
Give him time.
how
This
are you
is-
even credible?
This is my struggle with this story. I mean, really, it is. Brother Robert Lankford, here he is, back again,
All right.
testified he purchased a camera from Mark upon their return to Texas. The camera belonged to Robert Bravence.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, we already know that they did it,
Yeah.
but I feel like Mark was a leader.
That's what it sounded like.
That's what
That's
I
been
feel
the
like.
common theme.
That's what I feel like. Like, hey, bro, want to buy this camera?
Mm-hmm.
A number of forensic analysts testified DNA samples on the evidence found was from the victims. So the evidence that they had found when they went to pick up those guys in Texas, poaching and growing the marijuana, was linked to the victims.
All right.
The jury once again convicted Mark Lankford guilty on 2 counts of murder after 4 hours of deliberation.
Very quick. Again, that's about the same turnaround.
How disappointing. You're like, okay, here's my show.
We've spent months. Oh, they're really gonna
Years.
they're gonna think about it, like, and you're hoping, because usually a long process of the jury means that there's a lot of not agreeing on certain points. When it takes 4 hours, when you're like, man, we got time to go to lunch, we can go relax, we can go do this, and you're like, oh, we're going back already? I bet that's not a great feeling.
This is what I pictured exactly happened. They had a little wind down time, right? After, like, let's discuss how we feel about what just happened. Let's eat. Let's just relax, and it was like, oh, shit, I'm still finishing my fries.
No, I think so too. And it's like, does anyone have any big points of doubt that they wanted? And maybe someone brings up one thing, they're like, oh, well, what about this? The person's like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right about that. Anyway, that's the only the only point of
Yeah.
not believing it. Okay, well, then we're ready.
Cheryl's youngest brother, Kerry, spoke for the family, saying the court gave his family an exceptional amount of peace. Mark was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences. So, the death penalty is
Essentially.
It's gone. So, we're going to jump ahead a few years because this is the part of I'm like, all right, and then this is where they're at, and this is not where they're at. In 2017, Mark Lankford is awarded a new trial by the Idaho Supreme Court.
What did they mess up that he gets a whole new trial?
My nose. What went wrong? Prosecutors misled the jury when they did not disclose they offered a witness help getting released from jail. Jailhouse snitch Lane Thomas, in an exchange for his testimony, was offered by a prosecutor a letter to the state correction officials at Cottonwood where Thomas was incarcerated.
And let me just say again, they have a point. People need to know if there was something to be gained by someone claiming something.
It's jailhouse snitches. Never good.
A lot of them are career snitches. I mean, let's be real. Not all of them, but you have to find a way in prison. And that is one of the ways that you can alleviate your time.
Thomas testified that he was Mark Lankford's cellmate and that he had confessed to the killings. Bada boom, bada bing.
All right.
I just don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I'm surprised he didn't escape. A la Creech.
We haven't had any escapes in this story.
No.
First time for everything, folks. It might not be the first, but a lot of our stories have had
There's a lot of escapings. In 2019, Mark Lankford was convicted for a 3rd time. He's had
this the charm?
3 trials. In the latest trial, In the latest trial, Brian Lankford took the stand again and took responsibility as the sole killer of the couple in a botched robbery attempt. It's a
Make up your
it's
mind.
a shit show. This is like, I'm sorry if that was loud. This is okay. Let's math. 1983 to 2019. 83.
36 years.
So quick on the draw. I love it.
I
Yeah.
was using my finger counting.
He is still like, he's still gonna fuck his brother.
The division runs deep.
36 years. He's
Well,
like,
I'm sure the boredom, they're like, you know what? I've been in here a long time. I'd love to see a courtroom again, at least.
actually, I shouldn't say he fucked his brother because he said he did it all.
He said he did it, so he kind of was
But
like,
I mean, it's still such a hot, like, nobody's going to believe it because he said he did, he didn't, he did, he did. Brian said he killed the Bravences by hitting them with the butt of the gun and then a rock.
they can't even keep the weapon straight. It's been a billy club, a rock, a gun, and I think there was even one more thing that I might not be remembering. You know, if you beat someone to death, you know how you did it. Come on.
Forensic evidence showed that that is not what happened. Mark Lankford claimed he was in a fight with his brother and they had split up for a while, and that's when the murders took place. He walked back up to where his brother was and saw him pull up in a stolen van. When the pair was arrested in Texas, they found a belt buckle and a military hat belonging to Robert Bravence. The defense also stated that in the 2008 trial, Brian was given a cell phone in jail in exchange for his testimony against his brother.
He didn't even have to keister it.
No keystering.
He was given a cell phone.
He didn't even have to keister it.
What a treat.
Ah,
I bet he was very popular.
I'm gonna be popular. So I'm sorry. And there was
It's just wild.
There was attorneys that was just like, this is fucking asinine. In 2008, they're like, okay, so you're gonna testify against your brother in his new trial, and we're just gonna slide you a little sully cell right here.
I cannot imagine that happening. Did it really happen?
Yes. It really
How that would be such a liability, because if you have a cell phone that didn't have to be keistered, everyone and their dog in that jail is going to be beating you up for that cell phone. I would imagine. On your Nokia, just walking around, flipping it open. Hey, bro, what's up? Hey, sis. Hey, mom.
Oh wait, smartphone.
Still a lot of flippies.
So a lot of
Flippies and smarts.
He probably
The flips were so much more satisfying. I'm just going to say it. We all know it. To hang up on someone. Why am I talking like this? To hang up on someone with yes, to slam that thing closed, or even just to flip it open, like all cunty, like hello.
And there is something about pushing a button too versus
That's the only time I used to text and drive, because you could T9 it. I didn't have to draw my eyes away from the road at all. I could T9.
the talent.
Now I would never. I cannot text and drive at all. I wouldn't dare. It terrifies me. There's no way.
No way.
Buttons, sure. It was like Morse code.
Beep, 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 beep,
Stenographer. That's what it was.
Shorthand, bitch.
Yeah.
Got you. All right.
Anyway, nostalgia. What a fun little trip we just went on.
So currently, Brian Lankford is still in custody, but I
Hope
could
so.
not find where he's at. So there's a search you can do on the IDOC, the Department of Corrections. You can find out the status of an inmate and what they're convicted for. It says he's in custody, but if you want further information, please contact us. And he is 64. Mark Lankford, 68, is still in prison at the Idaho Correctional Institution in Orofino.
All right.
So that's where we sit. So, Steph, I have to ask you, because I don't even know. I just want your opinion. Who did it?
I really do think with the other family being against Mark, am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
I just want to make sure because there's a lot of names. And so
Lots of names.
Sometimes I get confused.
Robert said Mark's a dick.
I think that Mark could have been a little bit sociopathic and could have had some influence. Do I think that one was gone? Whoever, because I feel like they flip-flopped and said,
Yeah.
oh, the other one came back. I don't think that happened at all. I think that they were together and maybe they were on drugs and
Drugs.
fucking drugs. And I think that they took it too far, which it was so illogical. And listen, I'm not saying that a murder has to be logical, but if someone's like, sure, take the van, take my money, take everything, leave me here in the woods, abandoned. I'll forget your face, cover my eyes right now. I'll turn around.
Bye.
I haven't seen you. The bargaining to really beat someone to death, there was a little bit of a team effort. And maybe Mark had pushed Brian into this role where it was like, this is cool. You know,
kind of feel
that's
that a
how you
little bit.
cope, to be like, oh, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. He was an adult though. So I'm not giving anyone grace, but I do think that Mark was probably the initiator and that Brian didn't have enough of a spine to do anything. And it clearly, they both didn't think about consequences. There was not a logical head in this at all. That's my opinion. What do you think? Because you've had to really dig deep for this one of all the appeals.
I really kind of, at the beginning, I was like, oh, poor Brian is over controlling. Because I know people like that aren't, even at 23, do not have the backbone to stand up against a sibling or a parent.
But when it comes to murder,
But then his unaliving attempts and I think he was mentally ill, which is sad, but no excuse for fucking murder.
especially not that way.
I mean, even still, 36 years later, he's saying, I did it. Is he trying to get redemption for his brother because he lied for his...
Did someone get to him that said his brother's going to get him somehow?
I don't
That's what
know.
was in my head.
Either way, I think that they're both culpable.
For sure.
And I also think they're both stupid for hiding a fucking Camaro in the bushes. So that's my opinion.
And at the end of the day, only they know what happened. And unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, they both clearly lied about it so much that nothing could ever be really considered credible. If one of them would have owned up and just said, yeah, I was wrong, they probably would have gotten off or gotten a lesser sentence, and we would at least know, the family would have known. But they both wanted to flip-flop and blame the other and blame themselves throughout time. So now it's like, gosh, did the tooth fairy do it? Sure, it was the tooth fairy.
Maybe.
That's as plausible as their stories at this point.
And I just have to say, that poor couple, we got very involved in these two brothers going back and forth, but they were outstanding people who
Had their
on
lives
her-
together and very smart.
Yeah,
College
and
educated.
she had her summer fucking break. He's like, babe, let me
Relaxing.
take you to where I've been camping since I was 11. It's awesome. Let's take the fucking dog, load up the van, and let's go see some, because it is beautiful.
It is very beautiful.
It is fucking beautiful up there. And
to have it ruined like this.
yeah, and their poor families. And Phantom, how did you not ask me about the fucking dog?
I wanted to, but I was like, I get off task so much
Okay.
that I was like, maybe it will come up Because I was curious, and I also didn't want you to tell me something like, well, they gutted the dog and they strewn its guts out or something
Steph,
crazy.
if I have not made this clear, that is my fucking job.
I know.
Okay. I love you.
It was something that I almost didn't want to know. Anyway. So this has been episode something or other.
We don't even know where we're at, but we're going to tell you, please like, subscribe, follow us. Please email us because we want your feedback. We want to know what you like, what you don't like, what you thought of the story.
Personal experiences with these.
Yes.
We've had people reach out to us that are like, actually, I ran into XYZ one time. And even if we're interested to hear it. We love hearing about the context of things and getting different perspectives. So if you have an interesting tidbit, send it our way.
Absolutely. And we're at the Lethal Library at gmail.com.
Yes.
And of course, all the socials. And yeah.
I think that's a wrap. So 10-4, rubber ducky.
Fuck yeah.